print. Instead, you connect the printer to one computer and you can share it. That's what you'll do in here. Every team will have to be able to print to two different computers. Now, the concept behind that will be, I will probably choose the team leaders myself. The concept behind that will be, did you share the computer correctly? In other words, you have to configure your computer. First of all, every computer on the network has to see every computer. You'll have to check that. One of the ways of checking it is, can you ping it? One of the topics on one of your exams, one of your actual exams states, and I don't know why my students still forget it, a lot of them still forget it. I ask a question, or I make a statement anyway. It wasn't a question. Individual hands-on exam number 2, I think. Oh no, that's on the final exam. Your final exam states this. Um, 64-bit .x64. That's your virtual machine. Those of you who've been going in onto the VMware, you're doing it wrong. That's why it's not working. I said that last week. Week before that. How many times do I need to say it? Understanding network fundamentals, page 250. LANs, WANs, PANs, MANs. You'll need to know what each one does. When I'm talking about a local area network, I'm talking about a building. When I'm talking about a wide area network, I'm talking about a city. When I'm talking about a personal area network, I'm talking about something that's very, very close. On page 253, where it says the term PAN is most commonly associated with Bluetooth. That means very, very close. Usually, max about 10 meters for the most part, or shorter. Wide area networks. Wide area networks. Now, when I'm talking about wide area networks, I'm on page 252, where it says wide area networks. Look at the very next to the last sentence under wide area networks on page 252, where it says, whereas LANs are limited to single buildings. LANs are limited to single buildings. WANs can span buildings, states, countries, and even continental boundaries. Yes, you can communicate with people you know all over the world just by using the internet. I think I've said this before, I'll say it one more time. Make sure you pay particular attention to the italicized words. That's going to come, it's going to become kind of important later on. Well, it's important right now, too. MANs. One question a lot of people ask, is there really a difference between a MAN and a WAN? Yes. There's what it also said, that's gray areas. But when you talk metropolitan, the reason why they call it metropolitan, in a MAN, a central IT organization such as campus, when they talk about campus, they're talking about a school, campus environment. Campus, I've worked both, working for a corporation and working for a campus or a school. For the most part, they get more frustrated when you work for a company or a corporation. Campus environment, everything is kind of smooth. You learn more at a campus environment, for sure. For example, if you work at, let's say you work, I got some of my students working here. If you work at HCC, you don't know where you can go, where you would go from year to year or month to month. For example, I worked at 3 different locations simultaneously in a whole year. When a campus, when there was a problem, I would go to 3 different campuses. I like Northwest. Over at Northwest, there's Spring Branch, A-Leaf, Bissonnet, and Caton. 4 locations. So you could be working at all 4 of those locations, which is pretty cool because you get the layout of all the buildings. Now, for you to know, you have to be an expert, or you should be an expert at the client if you're going to tackle a server. Because if you don't know the client, or if you do know the client, you'll know the server. Everything that I'm showing you on this client is on the server. It's just that there's more. There's more stuff. It's a stronger computer. It can have many hard drives, not one hard drive. It can have many processors, not one. Well, even your client can have more than one processor. It can have more than one drive, too.
I have a question, Professor.
Yeah.
For RAIDs, would it be a client or a server?
Server. I've tried to RAID on the client, but it don't work really well. Can I put 4 hard drives and a client? Yes, but they don't work all that well. I had one of my students, pretty bright student, had like 6 hard drives connected to his one client computer. I said, dude, why don't you just buy a server? Because you don't have enough. He was wondering why his computer's so slow. I said, you don't have enough processor power. You just don't. For this computer, client computer, to have 6 hard drives on it. So you got a whole bunch of different types of servers. Now these are the things that the system administrator is really, that's our job. For example, if I have to come down here, when I did work back in the day, if I had to come down into a room to do the work of a room, I would probably get rid of my techs. Because if I have to do their work and they can't do my work, I don't need them. That's one of the things you have to keep in mind. Can you talk somebody on the phone? Because most of those people you talk to on the phone, those are techs too. A couple of them are mine that work up there. Can they talk you through it? Are they professional? For the most part, most of them are. Not all of them. What's her name? Emily. She'll say something 2 or 3 times, but if you don't get it, she gets a little frustrated. Sometimes that'll get you terminated if you get frustrated with people. Some techs I had were you have to be professional all the time, especially if you want to, you want to stay, especially downtown. Now there are a lot of technicians downtown. Every building, that's what you have to do with it anyway. It's a workstation. It's where you do your work. It takes several items to make a workstation into a network client. That means a network. That's where we come in. Network interface cards. Some are built in, some comes without none, and we put them in ourselves. I had those network interface cards lined out on the table. Everybody remember how they look? Because they can show you a picture and say, this is the type of card, and it is A, B, C, D. Now, what do they mean by other peripherals? Well, there's a whole lot of peripherals out there. All-in-ones, scanners, multiples of printers. In other words, you won't go into every room and find a $2,000 printer like this one. Most of you go into these little small offices, they got all kinds of weird printers. You'll have to get pretty good at printers. That's what one of my students told me. He used to work out at A-Leaf. He told me, he said, Mr. B, you didn't teach us enough about printers. I said, you know now, don't you? He said, yeah. After working a couple of weeks trying to figure out what the problem was. Well, they don't give you